I'm going to have Shedeur going to New York. You know how I feel about it.
He takes things out of context because that's not what people said. The Shedeur Sanders conversation continues to evolve, especially when you talk about Cam Ward. I think we're about a month away from the draft, so a lot of people are bored. A lot of new narratives are kind of being spun up now. I think the last few weeks we were talking about how Shedeur Sanders was being, kind of slid down draft class. Now this is the exact opposite. You got Mel Kiper talking about how he's better than Cam Ward. You got Todd McShay saying he's the reason why Colorado won. It's a lot of flip-flopping. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is, but we're going to listen to these comments from Todd McShay, Mel Kiper, a few other things. We're going to get into some different stats and facts about who people think is going to be the first pick, how we look at Cam Ward, and then, of course, look at some videos from Shedeur and Cam Ward. Look at them spinning a little bit, man, and then yap it up, man. I really appreciate y'all watching these videos. Like if you like it, dislike if you don't like it. Subscribe if you enjoy college football content coverage, draft stuff. We just do football over here, man. It's the offseason. Y'all let me know what y'all want to see down below in the comments. Subscribe, and let's hop in. We're going to start with Mel Kiper. Let's go ESPN first.
Okay, so Mel, tell me this. Who do you project will be the better NFL quarterback? Is it Cam or Shedeur?
I'm going to go Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to be steadfast in that. I've had him number one, QB1 all along, really since last year, and love everything about the kid. I mean, people say, well, he takes too many sacks. Yes, he has to get the ball out a tick faster, but he dealt with NFL conditions. Shannon, Stephen A., we talk about that. Who had to deal with what you're going to deal with in the NFL, what you're going to have to survive in the NFL? He survived hit after hit. How he did it, I don't know. He was 11 of 13 games this year at 70% or higher. He never completed less than 60% of his passes in a game. And in 2023, when he was getting pounded and getting sacked and getting hit time after time, he was at 69% and change with 27 touchdowns, 3 picks, 4 rushing touchdowns. That's 31-3 touchdown interception ratio. So to me, when you look at Shedeur, accuracy, slip and slide in the pocket. Yes, he can get you a 3rd and 8 first down. People say, well, he's going to run the 4.8s. Patrick Mahomes ran 4.8, 4.84. Doesn't have an explosive arm. Neither did Johnny Unitas, Peyton Manning. Okay, we talk about explosive arms. You don't need to have that. Tom Brady, another one, didn't have the explosive arm or explosive legs at 5'2", 440. So you can win in the NFL, win big in the NFL, going about your business like Shedeur Sanders does.
Mel makes some really good points, and it's very funny because I'm happy he did that because it reminds me of this video.
Can we just be honest?
We need to we need to get to because this guy right here had some ultimate hate for Shedeur. Actually, so let's see what he had. He was also hating on Shiloh too, but let's hear it.
Shiloh Sanders is probably not going to get drafted. Maybe he will because he's Deion Sanders' son. But he didn't even get invited to the combine. He's not going to run a good 40 whatsoever. Round, you your guy. I'm watching the game, and it doesn't help them. And they say, oh, the offensive line is terrible. The offensive safety I've ever seen in my life. Now, let's go back to Shedeur because that's the topic of discussion. Shedeur Sanders' pocket presence is insanely terrible. I watch football. I watch these other people. He can't see somebody blitzing from the corner to save his life. He can't see it. And they say, oh, the offensive line is terrible. The offensive line is terrible. And yeah, they don't seem like they're that good, but like he doesn't help them. He sits in a pocket. He don't move. He don't anticipate nothing in the pocket. I'm watching the game, and I'm watching him go, and they sack him. And he's like, bro, first of all, get rid of the ball. He beat your guy on the snap, and you ain't moved nowhere. He beat your guy. You can't feel him coming, and they beat your guy. You go move around. And then he run like he got 2 flat tires. Shedeur Sanders is probably going to run a 4.8 and a 40. He's not going to run a good 40 whatsoever. And if he was like Deion, he could run a 4.2 and a 40 and he was a quarterback, ladies and gentlemen, he would be the number 1 pick.
Okay, I don't know what he's talking like. This is one of those dudes you can even see it. He says woke ESPN and he's wearing a Doge hat. So look, we know what type of dudes he is. He's one of those people that just he hates himself. He don't like black people. And that's okay. Look, some people don't like black people. A lot of people don't like black people. He goes on to call Shedeur Sanders arrogant. We've already had the conversation. He's not arrogant. He's just confident. There's nothing wrong with being confident. Oh, man, he's got part 4s and part 5s, but they're not getting a lot of views. He's not getting a lot of views on a lot of videos, too, unless he's hating. So
there's a whole bunch of incredible black quarterbacks that have played. I don't know why we come to this. I'm going to play this clip in 1 second. I don't know how we get to this point. You have to be incredibly disingenuous to think that it's legitimized racism that black quarterbacks are black quarterbacks or black athletes who play quarterback are not quarterbacks because of the color of their skin.
Yeah, and again, that's just he's just and I get that's what these grifters do, man. He takes things out of context because that's not what people said. That's not what Ryan Clark said. We talked about the Ryan Clark thing. And I was like, I don't think he needed to get in there and make it about race, but that dude just doesn't know about football. He just rage bait, and he says I played safety at whatever. I mean. They pulled up your stats, and Shiloh had better stats than you in your career, big homie. So I don't know, man. But yeah, this hate is good. It's good to get perspectives from other things because when you hear Todd McShay absolutely glaze Shedeur like this, it's good to have.
I want you to hear me when I say this. I truly believe Shedeur Sanders is in play that number 2 pick for the Cleveland Browns. What's our way out of purgatory? They're in purgatory because of Deshaun Watson. It's only to draft and get a quarterback on a rookie contract. It truly is. My greatest asset in this whole mess is my head coach. Stefanski is my greatest asset. Why?
Okay.
Because Stefanski has a proven track record of getting the most out of pocket passing quarterbacks with limited mobility. Sound familiar? Shedeur's skill set is strikingly similar to a handful of quarterbacks that Stefanski's had won a lot of games, not just like a lot of games with in the past, including Case Keenum, won 11 games with the Vikings. Stefanski was a quarterback coach in 2017. Kirk Cousins, Vikings team won 10 games under Stefanski with Cousins as OC in 2019. Most recently, late career Joe Flacco, still a big arm, but not the arm he had in Baltimore. The only player at that quarterback position Stefanski has not won with is a confidence-shattered, distracted, and physically broken down Deshaun Watson. Every other quarterback he's won with.
And then here we go. Joe Klatt is even going on. And to be honest with you, Joe Klatt is a big Deion guy, so it's no surprise here. But here he is.
I'm going to have Shedeur going to New York. You know how I feel about him. I believe that he can be surgical when he is protected. He can be a magician when he is not. Not many guys can do that. Colorado was a one-win team. They were terrible for 2 decades. And when I say terrible, I mean like terrible. They had one winning football season in 2 decades before Shedeur Sanders got there. Give a lot of credit to Deion, and certainly as a head coach, you can command a lot of credit. You can give a lot of credit to the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter, but he didn't have the football in his hands on every single play. Do you know the reason Colorado improved so drastically and so quickly? Shedeur Sanders. And now I believe that he can do the same in the NFL for his next franchise, and I believe that franchise.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to get across here is that there's nothing wrong with the positives from Shedeur, and I even want to address that the hating dude, the Mr. Cop officer or whatever, because he actually was making some good points. The good points about him having problems in the pocket, issues being predetermined almost in the movement in his pocket, and that's something that Dan Orlovsky talks about a lot too. But Dan Orlovsky also talks about the timing ability and the movement in the pocket too. The ability to be, like they say, a magician in the pocket, to be cerebral when it needs to be. So if you're going to be obtuse and talk about the fact that Shedeur Sanders is arrogant and this and that, let's just not get it mixed up and also try to call him untalented, because being one of the highest, actually number 1 in pass completion in FBS history, within the likes of Cole Brennan and not Case Keenum, what's it called? Some legendary. I got to pull out the list again. Some legends in the world of college football. I don't know how you see what he was dealing with now in the elite wide receiver room, but a terrible offensive line. I don't know how you see that and completely discredit him, but I do think that there is room to criticize Shedeur. I do think he can be better, even with his decision making. I do think his arm's going to limit him in certain ways, but plenty of quarterbacks have found a way to do that, and plenty of West Coast specifically style offenses have definitely been able to do that. Hey man, let's get him outside. Oh well, he's only been throwing screens. Well, hey man, if he's throwing screens good, then let's do it. Let's get some play action. Let's allow him to an offensive coordinator. It shouldn't be a quarterback's job to completely absolve the offensive coordinator from making things easier for a quarterback. We've watched for the last decade quarterbacks who've had to save offensive coordinators instead of offensive coordinators who excel. Now, the ones who do, guess what happens? They go to Super Bowl champions, right? You have the McVays of the world. You have the Andy Reids of the world now, head coaches that are just offensive minded. But you get what I'm saying. People who are known to have or to be offensive gurus, right? I don't understand how we keep trying to say, oh, well, this and that about Shedeur. It's like, well, did we talk about his offense? Did we talk about the fact that it just wasn't pro style? Did we talk about that he had issues with the choice routes in the first year at Colorado, and then they added and made some more changes, and then the fact that he was missing Travis Hunter or something? Like, I just, y'all don't add context to everything, man. Y'all really don't. But hey, criticism needs to be had, and it needs to be there. How are people feeling? This is from the Dan Patrick Show about Cam Ward, though. This is March 14th. Again, I think the things are moving around, but some people are still steadfast at Cam Ward at 1. Let's hear it from Mike Tannenbaum.
I'll leave you with this. If you ran the Titans, if you were the GM, what are you doing at the top of the draft?
Cam Ward, and Cam Ward. I think the most impressive part about the combine, Dan, was what the University of Miami offensive lineman and teammates said about Cam Ward. I'm a big believer in life is who you really are is how you treat people that can help you. Cam Ward was a selfless leader. He has what it takes. I think his intangibles are off the charts, and they shouldn't answer the phone if someone calls him.
Now, I would argue that I don't think Cam Ward is a generational talent that needs to be drafted at 1, but I do think that he has enough upside and more upside as a quarterback over Shedeur Sanders that I don't see the argument of it. Like, I'm not mad at the argument of where it is right now. Let's look at some of the numbers of the Browns' first pick, right? We got Cam Ward. Now, this is at 2, so we have Cam Ward at 31%. We have Abdul Carter at 21%, Travis Hunter at 12%, and then Kelvin Banks at 2.2%. So I guess the consensus at this point was that, Abdul Carter is going to go at 1 right now. For the odds for the first pick in the NFL draft to get traded cooled off this week, down from 75%. Cam Ward remains at 77% to get taken first overall. Overall is Tennessee locking in, and this is March 16th too. So this was pretty new from the poly market, right? So things are looking, even though people are starting to say these positive things about Shedeur Sanders, it's still looking like the things that are kind of leaning towards are really going to be, Cam Ward going at 1 and maybe Shedeur going in that top 3. Look, man, I tell y'all this every single draft video, and as the draft videos start heating back up, obviously we haven't, the combine kind of came and went. So when the pro days come, when Colorado pro day happens, obviously we're going to heat back up more about this. But hey, man, everything you hear, forget that. Everything you hear, see, believe, everything from the time that the college football season ends until the draft is over, it's lies, dog. It's all a smoke screen. It's all trying to get you off your pivot or get other teams off their pivot to what is really happening, right? So we just have to kind of keep that all in the back of our head as well. Now, looking at a few other things here, just to kind of wrap up the video. I don't think this one needs to be too long. We'll listen to one more from Keyshawn at the end. But a few days ago, Geno Smith was, spotted up with the new Vegas quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if this has any inkling. You know what I mean? He's been spotted with a lot of Raiders people. Obviously, you had the whole video of him dapping up what's it called, Max Crosby and whatnot. So there's a lot of there's a lot of mutual respect there, it seems, from the Raiders organization. But let's go ahead and just end it off, I guess, with this Rich Eisen and basically talking about the difference between Cam Ward and Shedeur. And this guy Albert Breer, he's trying to make the claim that they're basically the same quarterback. Let's hear.
In terms of following up for what you were saying about Rodgers' situation with the Giants and the Steelers, how this is now the second time the Giants have gone for an OG quarterback. Stafford stayed with the Rams. Now, Rodgers is considering going to them or the Steelers. So my question is for you is where are you hearing about the draft? Would the Giants still take one? Is that something that they've told Rodgers would have to ask Joe Shane and Daboll and John Mara if he met with the owner, are you taking a quarterback 3rd overall, right? I mean, he'd have to ask that question. How has the quarterback carousel as it's currently spun affected the draft class, do you think, Albert?
Well, I'll say with the Giants in particular, I know one thing that they had sort of talked to Matthew Stafford about was the idea of the 3rd overall pick being able to help him, and that if they brought him in, then, all right, now we can maybe use the 3rd pick on Travis Hunter, and maybe Travis Hunter can be the 3rd receiver, and you bring Cooper Kupp with you, and now we got Malik Neighbors and Cooper Kupp and Travis Hunter. Those are concepts that I know were at least discussed. The difference, I think, is that you could see Matthew Stafford being your quarterback for the next 3 or 4 years. I don't know if he'd commit to that, but that's at least conceivable. where with Rodgers, it's probably a little bit less conceivable. And I don't think Aaron would necessarily be against the idea of having a young quarterback on the roster. I mean, I would say this, like as ugly as things got at the end in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love have a very strong relationship. Like I've talked to Jordan Love multiple times about this, about, how much he loves Aaron Rodgers and how much he feels like he owes to Aaron Rodgers. So I don't think it would have anything to do with like having to look over your shoulder,
Right.
Because I think Aaron's only going there for a year or two anyway. I think it would probably be more what I was talking about in the first place, which is, does Aaron want the team to use that asset on somebody who's going to help him right now? Like, I think that'd be more the question. And, we'll see. But I do think like if they signed Aaron, then they'd probably take a quarterback. My guess would be somewhere in the top 100 picks.
And in terms of where the quarterbacks land, right? In the draft, you're hearing Cam Ward is high up as obviously the Titans if they want to go in that direction. There's Abdul Carter sitting there too, Travis Hunter, if that's you want to go for the unicorn there. Then you got the Browns who pick up Kenny Pickett. You got the Giants. And so, you mentioned Ward's name before. So is it a general sense now that I'm hearing, and I'm sure, you hear with your ear firmly to the ground, that this is Ward's draft?
Yes.
And Shedeur Sanders could go from anywhere in the top 10 to out of the first round. Like, what are you hearing about this subject matter?
So I think Cam Ward is like, again, like, and I used this term with you last week, I think, Rich, like, he's the guy you chase ceiling with. He's still inconsistent. He still has some growing to do. But he is somebody who has a high ceiling, and somebody who, when you pluck out plays, you can see, okay, he's doing some superhuman stuff. I'd implore anybody who wants to see it. A couple scouts told me this. Go to watch the Cal game, the Miami Cal game. They told me you see everything there, all the good, all the bad, like it's all there, right? So you're chasing ceiling with him, which if you're Cleveland or Tennessee in the AFC and you're contending with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and CJ Stroud and all these different guys, then maybe you do have to chase ceiling. But at the very least, that ceiling's there. I think with Shedeur, it feels to me a little bit more like Bo Nix. I haven't been able to find very many people, Rich, that think he's a first rounder. That doesn't mean nobody does. But I think, I would have said the exact same thing a day before the draft about Bo Nix. Like, where is he going to go? Well, Sean Payton, he may be a fit there, but nowhere else. And then Sean Payton takes him, So for Bo Nix, it wasn't about, proving to the league that I'm this superhuman prospect. It was finding the right fit. And ultimately he found the right fit and had a fantastic rookie year. I think that's the boat that Shedeur's in right now, where there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to look at him as a second or a third round pick based on his physical skill set. And for him, it's going to be about finding the place that looks at him differently and sees him differently and says, this guy is a fit for us in particular. It doesn't matter what he is for anybody else. He's a fit for us. Because you and I both know if he finds the right fit, if Shedeur Sanders finds the right fit and goes on and wins a bunch of games as a rookie, nobody's going to care how 30 other teams saw him at the end of April.
Yeah, so and I think this is important because I think it does shine the light on that. This is real, right? These ideas of him sliding out of the first round seem to be real, but in the same breath, you got people on ESPN saying that he's a better quarterback. It's a lot of craziness, and I think the only thing that you can believe is nothing, because all of this stuff is here and there, left and right. Shout out to Cam Ward for being, just elite and an elite talent. But I don't know. Do you guys think that Shedeur slides out of the first round? I think he's going to be a first round guy. I think he's going to get picked by the Raiders. I think he's going to be in the top 10. I just think that once quarterbacks, just similar to Malik Willis, I just feel like, and this isn't an indication of what I think he's going to do in his career, but I just think that if Cam Ward goes 1, then the waterfall goes. Now, if Travis Hunter goes 1 or Abdul Carter goes 1, and then you got Travis Hunter, and then maybe a Kelvin Banks, okay. If all the quarterbacks get slow, then I think that, Shedeur Sanders' ability to just kind of completely fall the first round happens quickly. But I think a lot of people see Shedeur and Jackson Dart as kind of similar prospects too. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think draft night is going to be full of drama because I think not a lot of people know what's going to happen. I don't even think some people aren't even confident that Cam's going to go number 1. So y'all let me know in the comments what you think or how you think the draft's going to go. I really appreciate y'all watching these videos, though, man. Like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't like it, subscribe if you enjoy football updates, college football updates, transfer portal, draft, everything else in between, man. We're going to be keeping up with it. All right, man. You know you're great, right? I already know you knew you were great. Just keep being great. All right, peace.